The Fate of the Furious, alternatively known as Fast and Furious 8 and Fast 8, and often stylized as F8, is a 2017 American action film directed by F. Gary Gray and written by Chris Morgan. It is the 8th installment in the Fast and the Furious franchise. The film stars Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris Bridges, Scott Eastwood, Natalie Emanuel, Elsa Pataky, Kurt Russell and Charlize Theron. The Fate of the Furious follows Dominic Toretto, Diesel, who has settled down with his wife Letty Rodriguez, until cyber-terrorist Cypher, Theron, coerces him into working for her and turns him against his team, forcing them to find Dom and take down Cypher. Plans for an 8th installment were first announced in March 2015 when Diesel appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and announced that the film would be set in New York City. Preparations for the film began immediately after the release of Furious 7, with Diesel, Morgan and producer Neil H. Moritz re-signing. After setting an initial release date in the same month, casting took place between April and June 2015. In October 2015, Gray was announced to direct the film in the place of James Wan, who had directed the previous installment. Principal photography began in March 2016 in locations such as Myvat, Havana, Atlanta, Cleveland and New York City, continuing the franchise's tradition of filming in exotic locations around the world. The Fate of the Furious premiered on April 4, 2017 in Berlin, and was theatrically released in the United States on April 14, 2017. Playing in 3D, IMAX 3D and 4DX internationally. The film received mixed reviews from critics, who praised the action sequences and performances, while criticizing the storyline. The film has grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide, making it the 30th film, and the second in the franchise, after Furious 7, to gross over $1 billion, the second highest grossing film of 2017 and the 12th highest grossing film of all time. The film grossed $532 million worldwide during its opening weekend, setting the record for the highest grossing opening of all time, ahead of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, $529 million. A sequel is scheduled to be released on April 19, 2019. Plot Dominic "Dom" Toretto and Letty Ortiz are on their honeymoon in Havana when Dom is challenged to a street race at an auto show by local racer Raldo. Dom races for Raldo's car, intending to give it to his cousin Fernando, while wagering his own show car. After narrowly winning the race, Dom allows Raldo to keep his car, earning his respect, and instead leaves his cousin with his show car. The next day, Dom is approached by elusive cyber-terrorist Cypher, who coerces him into working for her. Shortly after the encounter, Dom and his team, comprising Letty, Roman Pierce, Tej Parker, and Ramsey, are recruited by Diplomatic Security Service, DSS, agent Luke Hobbs to help him retrieve an EMP device from a military outpost in Berlin. During the getaway, Dom goes rogue, forcing Hobbs off the road and stealing the device for Cypher. Hobbs is arrested and locked up in the same high-security prison he helped imprison Deckard Shaw in. After escaping, both are recruited by intelligence operative Frank Petty, Mr. Nobody, and his protege, Eric Reisner, Little Nobody, to help the team find Dom and capture Cypher. Deckard reveals that Cypher was the mastermind of previous encounters with the team, such as employing his brother Owen Shaw to steal the Nightshade device and orchestrating the attempted theft of God's Eye, Ramsey's software program. The team tracks Dom and Cypher to their very location just as they attack the base and steal God's Eye. When Dom begins to question Cypher's motives, she reveals that she has held Dom's ex-lover and DSS agent Elena Neves, as well as their son, whose existence Dom was previously unaware of, hostage in order to keep Dom loyal to her. Elena tells Dom that the child was born as a result of an unintended pregnancy, and that she wanted him to decide the child's first name, having already given him the middle name Marcos. Cypher then sends Dom to New York City to retrieve a nuclear football held by the Russian Minister of Defense. Dom manages to evade her for a short time through a diversion created by Raldo, allowing him to meet with and persuade Deckard and Owen's mother, Maudlin Shaw, to help. The team intercepts Dom after he steals the nuclear football, but Dom escapes, shooting and apparently killing Deckard in the process. Cypher facilitates Dom's escape by hacking into all of the autonomous cars in the city and reprogramming them to auto-drive, wreaking havoc throughout the city. Letty catches up to Dom, but is ambushed and nearly killed by Cypher's enforcer, Connor Rhodes, before Dom rescues her. In retaliation, Cypher has Rhodes kill Elena in front of Dom. Dom is then sent to Russia to use the EMP device to disable a nuclear submarine, enabling Cypher to hijack it and attempt to use its arsenal to trigger a nuclear war. They are once again intercepted by the team, provided with modified vehicles by Petty. Meanwhile, Deckard, who had faked his death and been extracted by Tegolio and Rico Santos, former members of Dom's team, infiltrates Cypher's plane to rescue Dom's son at Magdalene's behest, with the help of Owen. Once Deckard reports that the child is safe, Dom turns on Cypher and kills Rhodes, avenging Alina's death, before rejoining his team. Outraged, Cypher launches an infrared homing missile at Dom, but he breaks away from his team and maneuvers around it, causing the missile to hit the submarine instead. The team quickly forms a vehicular blockade around Dom, shielding him from the ensuing explosion. When Deckard reaches the front of the plane and confronts Cypher, she makes her escape by parachuting out of the plane. Petty and Reisner visit Dom and his team in New York City to report that Cypher is still at large. Hobbs is offered his DSS job back, but he declines in order to spend more time with his daughter. Deckard then arrives to return Dom's son, putting his differences aside with Dom and Hobbs in the process, and is accepted into their family. Dom decides to name his son Brian, after his friend and brother-in-law Brian O'Connor, and they celebrate. Cast Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, a former criminal and professional street racer who has retired and settled down with his wife, Letty. He is coerced by Cypher to work against his team. Dwayne Johnson as Luke Hobbs, a diplomatic security service, DSS, agent who allied with Dom and his team following their outings in Rio de Janeiro and Europe. Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw, a rogue special forces assassin who was imprisoned by Hobbs and the DSS after his defeat in Los Angeles, who serves as an ally to help Dom's team take down Cypher. Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz, Dom's wife and a former professional street racer. Tyrese Gibson as Roman Pierce, a former criminal from Barstow and a member of Dom's team. Chris Ludacris Bridges as Tej Parker, a mechanic from Miami and a member of Dom's team. Scott Eastwood as Eric Reisner, Little Nobody, a law enforcement agent working under Mr. Nobody. Natalie Emanuel as Ramsey, a computer hacktivist and a member of Dom's team. Elsa Pataky as Elena Neves, the mother of Dom's child and a former Rio police officer who moved to the United States to become Hobbs' new partner at the DSS. Kurt Russell as Frank Petty, Mr. Nobody, an intelligence operative and the leader of a covert ops team which previously aided Dom and his team in taking down Deckard in Abu Dhabi. Charlize Theron as Cypher, a criminal mastermind and cyber terrorist who coerces Dom into working against his team by holding Elena and their son hostage. Tego Calderon and Don Omar reprise their roles from previous films as Tegolio and Rico Santos, former members of Dom's team from the Dominican Republic and Rio de Janeiro, respectively. Luke Evans reprises his role from Fast and Furious 6, 2013, as Owen Shaw, Deckard's younger brother and a former Special Air Service (SAS) soldier who formerly opposed Dom's team in Europe, and who helps his brother in rescuing Dom's son. Christopher Hivja appears as Connor Rhodes, Cypher's enforcer and right-hand man. Helen Mirren makes an uncredited cameo appearance as Maudlin Shaw, the mother of Deckard and Owen Shaw. Production development Following the release of Furious 7, 2015, Vin Diesel said regarding a possible sequel, "I was trying to keep it close to the vest throughout the release." Paul Walker used to say that an eighth film was guaranteed, and in some ways, when your brother guarantees something, you sometimes feel like you have to make sure it comes to pass, so if fate has it, then you'll get this when you hear about it. Furious 7 was for Paul, the eighth film is from Paul. Diesel further hinted at an eighth film on Jimmy Kimmel Live, when he stated that Kurt Russell's character would span multiple films. He also stated that the next film would take place in New York City. Chris Morgan wrote his sixth script in the franchise, while Neil H. Moritz returned to produce. Moritz later stated, "The story is going to have to be something enticing for all of us. It has to be as good as or better than Furious 7. At the 2015 CinemaCon in Las Vegas, Diesel announced the film for an April 14, 2017 release date. On August 16, 2015, at the 2015 Teen Choice Awards, where Furious 7 received the award for Choice Movie Action and Walker received the award for Choice Movie Actor Action, Diesel gave the film the initial title Fast 8. In September 2015, Diesel stated that the script had almost been completed, and expressed interest in Rob Cohen, who directed the first film, to direct the eighth installment. On October 14, 2015, Diesel announced on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon that Straight Outta Compton director F. Gary Gray would direct the film. In July 2015, Moritz said that Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, would not appear in the film, following the use of CGI in the previous film after Walker died in a single vehicle accident on November 30, 2013, with Moritz stating that his character had moved on. It had previously been reported that Paul's younger brother, Cody Walker, would either join join the cast in a new role, or replace his older brother in the role of O'Connor. However, it was later announced that the character will not return to the franchise. Moritz also said that the film would shift the focus of the franchise from a series of heist films to a spy caper, following a similar change in focus from street racing in Fast 5, 2011. In December 2016, the film was retitled The Fate of the Furious. Casting Diesel, Russell and Michelle Rodriguez were the first to confirm their involvement in the film, and Tyrese Gibson and Chris Bridges both confirmed their return soon after. Lucas Black had signed on to reprise his role from The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift as Sean Boswell for Furious 7, and 2 more installments in September 2013, though he did not appear in Fate. In May 2015, Dwayne Johnson confirmed his involvement in the film, additionally hinting at a possible spin-off film involving his character, Luke Hobbs. Jason Statham also confirmed his return. In April 2016, Charlize Theron and Christopher Hivegel were confirmed as additions to the cast, in villainous roles, while Scott Eastwood also joined the film as a law enforcement agent. On May 17, 2016, Diesel posted a photo on his Instagram page of himself and Elsa Pataky on set, indicating that she had also returned for the film, and was followed 2 days later by a video on set with Natalie Emmanuel, who also starred in the previous film. In June 2016, Helen Mirren announced in an interview with Elle that she would appear in the film. In July 2016, Don Omar tweeted that he and Tego Calderón would return to the franchise for the 8th picture. During an interview with Chris Mannix on July 21, 2016, Lucas Black confirmed he would not appear in the 8th installment, due to scheduling conflicts. Filming In keeping with the franchise's penchant for filming in exotic locations, such as Dubai and Rio de Janeiro, in January 2016 it was announced that Universal was seeking approval from the United States and Cuban governments to shoot part of the film in Cuba. Principal photography began on March 14, 2016, in Mývatn, Iceland, where strong winds sent a plastic iceberg prop flying into a paddock. The prop struck 2 horses, one was wounded and the other mortally injured. It was later euthanized. In late April, filming began in Cuba's capital city, Havana. In May, filming also took place in Cleveland, Ohio. Franchise cinematographer Stephen F. Winden was confirmed to return for the 8th installment. Filming also took place in Atlanta and New York City. Music Brian Tyler, who scored the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th installments, was tapped to compose the film score for the 8th picture. A soundtrack album by Atlantic Records was released on April 14, 2017, coinciding with the film's U.S. theatrical release. The film's score album was released on April 27, by Backlot Music. Release The Fate of the Furious had its world premiere in Berlin on April 4, 2017. The film was theatrically released in the United States on April 14, 2017. Playing in 3D, IMAX 3D, and 4DX internationally, and received a day-and-date release across major markets such as Australia, the United Kingdom, China, and India. Beginning on April 12, 2017, the film was released day-and-date in 1,074 IMAX screens around the world, making it the widest day-and-date opening in IMAX history. Home media The Fate of the Furious is scheduled to be released on Blu-ray, DVD and digital HD on July 11, 2017. Reception Box office As of May 21, 2017, The Fate of the Furious has grossed $219.9 million in the United States and Canada and $992.7 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $1.213 billion, against a production budget of $250 million, $350 million including marketing costs. It is Universal Pictures' most ambitious worldwide distribution release in the studio's history. The film was released day-and-date in 64 territories worldwide, including almost all major markets, minus Japan, starting from April 12, 2017, and was projected to earn anywhere between $375–440 million in its 5-day opening weekend. By the end of the weekend, it ended up earning $539.9 million from nearly 23,000 screens, way above initial projections, to score the biggest global opening in cinematic history. It also marked the 3rd time that a film earned over $500 million in a single weekend, after Star Wars, The Force Awakens, $529 million, and Jurassic World, $525.5 million. In IMAX, the film made $31.1 million from 1,079 screens to record the biggest IMAX April debut and the 4th biggest overall. It is currently the 2nd highest grossing film of the year, behind only Beauty and the Beast, the 2nd biggest action film that is not a fantasy or superhero movie. movie, Behind Furious 7, and is already Universal's biggest-grossing live-action release since Jurassic World back in June 2015. North America. Like many of its predecessors, The Fate of the Furious was released in the United States and Canada in the month of April, and like its immediate predecessor, occupied the lucrative Easter week holiday period slot, where it was expected to open with $100-125 million. It received the widest pre-summer release ever, at an estimated 4,304 venues, besting the 4,242 opening theater count of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice the previous March. The film $10.4 million from Thursday night previews from 3,310 theaters, the second highest of the franchise behind Furious 7's $15.8 million. On its opening day it grossed $45.6 million, with Thursday previews making up 22.8 of the amount, slightly better than the 23 for Furious 7, earning a total of $98.8 million on its opening weekend. The film scored the second biggest opening in the franchise, the third biggest adjusted for inflation, and the third biggest April debut, behind Furious 7 and The Jungle Book. It posted an almost identical weekend multiplier like its immediate predecessor, 2.166x versus 2.18x. However, this is not surprising considering how both films opened over Good Friday, Easter Sunday stretch. Scott Mendelson of Forbes magazine compared the opening to House Spectre, 2015, opening fell from Skyfall, 2012. One notable record the film set was the best opening for a film with an African-American director, with Gray besting his own record set with Straight Outta Compton in 2015. Sticking to the franchise's famous and lauded habit of including a multi-ethnic cast of characters, the film played to audiences of all ethnicities. Domestically, Caucasians made up 41% of the audience, followed by Hispanics, 26%, African Americans, 21%, Asians, 11%, and Native American, other, 3%, according to Comscore's exit polling service PostTrack. The pick skewed male at 58%, far more than the last film at 51%. 2D ticket buyers repped 57 of the film's opening compared to its predecessor's 71. This means more die-hard moviegoers came out to watch the 8th installment rather than people who don't typically go to the movie. While The Fate of the Furious's debut is 34 less than its predecessor's opening, critics have noted that the debut is still considered a massive success and not a big letdown given how it is the 8th installment in an action franchise. Nevertheless, the film benefited from Easter holiday business with 74 of all K-12 schools off on Good Friday as well as a third of the nation's colleges. The film comes out in the wake of its parent franchise celebrating 16 years of availability in cinemas. Its hefty opening was followed by the second biggest April Monday gross ever with $8.5 million, behind the 7th installment. Its Sunday to Monday drop was 60 compared to its prequel's 57 drop, which is far better than the Monday drop witnessed by other April releases, The Jungle Book, -76, and Captain America, The Winter Soldier, -73, albeit without the advantage of a school holiday. Despite the entry of 4 new wide releases, critics and box office prognosticators kept a close watch on how much the film would drop in its second weekend. The film fell precipitously on its second Friday, earning $11.17 million for a 76 drop, which is the biggest in the franchise's history, besting the 72 drops for both its two immediate predecessors. The steep decline may be attributed not because of the onslaught of competitions, but rather due to the polarized reception received by the film and due to just 12 K-12 schools being off compared to 74 on Good Friday. It kept its hold at no. 1, albeit dropping about 61 in its sophomore frame for an estimated $38.4 million. That domestic drop is right in line with the 59 to 63 drops of the 6 previous installment in the franchises on their second weekend out. It topped the box office for 3 straight weekends, witnessing similar weekend-to-weekend percentage drops like its prequel, albeit earning lesser in terms of numbers. Outside North America, The Fate of the Furious secured a release in 69 countries. The film was projected to post an opening between $275-330 million from over 20,000 screens, with some analysts believing it could go as high as $350-400 million. It opened Wednesday, April 12, 2017, in 8 countries, earning $17.9 million, including previews from 12 countries. It opened in 33 more countries on Thursday, April 2, for a total of 41 countries, earning $58.4 million, marking Universal Pictures' overseas highest-grossing Thursday ever, and for a 2-day total of $82.2 million. It added 22 more countries on Friday, April 3, earning $112.1 million to score Universal International's highest-grossing Friday of all time, for a 3-day total of $194.8 million. The robust Friday take helped Universal push past $1 billion internationally in 2017, which is the second quickest ever and the studio's 11th consecutive year overall to pass the mark. Moreover, on the same day, the franchise crossed the $4 billion milestone. Around $22.6 million came from 681 IMAX screens, which is Universal's second biggest behind only Jurassic World. It topped the international charts for a second consecutive term, adding another $158.1 million, after which it was surpassed by Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, another film starring Diesel and Russell. In its third weekend in IMAX, the film has grossed north of $58 million. It set the record for the biggest opening day of 2017 in every territory it has been released at, the biggest opening day of all time in 16 markets, Universal's biggest opening day ever in 22 territories, and the biggest opening in the franchise in 38 markets. Moreover, it recorded the biggest paid previews of all time in Malaysia, Singapore, Venezuela, and Vietnam. In terms of opening weekend, the film debuted at No. 1 in all markets, where it set the biggest opening weekend of all time in 20 markets, Universal's biggest opening weekend ever in 28 markets, and the biggest opening in the franchise in 40 markets. Comparing market-to-market performance, Furious 7 had an opening worth $250 million without China and Russia, while The Fate of the Furious delivered $228.2 million debut, sans the two aforementioned markets. In Japan, the film debuted with $7.5 million. 1. Expectations were high for the film's performance in China, as its predecessor set notable records and went on to become the biggest film release there, now the biggest Hollywood release. The film was rebranded in Chinese as The Fast and the Furious 8 to make clear its connection to Furious 7. After ticket sales began on April 2, the film pre-sold more than RMB 125 million, $18.1 million worth of tickets before its release, breaking the previous record held by local film Journey to the West, conquering the Demons 3 months prior. Moreover, it also set a record for the fastest IMAX advance sales, with RMB 16.5 million, $2.4 million, breaking the previous record held by Captain America: Civil War, according to leading local movie site M-Time. In total, it pre-sold around $43.5 million tickets 2 hours before previews began, the biggest ever in the country. It earned a record-breaking RMB 59.8 million, $8.7 million, from Thursday paid previews, $8 million excluding online ticketing surcharges, which now count as grosses, breaking its predecessor's former record of RMB 52.5 million, $8.5 million in 2015, $7.6 million in 2017 exchange rates. On Friday, the film was screened in approximately 158,000 screens, a new record for any film, breaking Warcraft's former 122,000 screen counts, and almost double the estimated 80,700 screen count of its predecessor. By Friday noon, it had already grossed $30 million, buoyed by positive word-of-mouth 9.4, 10 user rating on mobile ticketing platform Maoyan, and 7.4, 10 from reviews aggregator Dubon, and effective marketing campaign. It set a new record for the biggest single day ever at the Chinese box office, including previews. This was achieved at 7 p.m. local time. In total, the film grossed an estimated RMB 452.8 million, $65.8 million on its opening day, inclusive of previews and online ticketing surcharges, compared to the RMB 398 million, $57.8 million, posted by its predecessor. It is the first film in Chinese history to register above RMB 400 million, $58 million, in a single day. An estimated $14 million came from 395 IMAX screens, the second biggest ever in the country, behind Warcraft. Its 3-day debut alone made it the biggest Hollywood release of 2017 and the third biggest overall. Factoring out online ticketing surcharges, the total comes to a slightly less hefty RMB 1.245 billion, $182.2 million. In just 9 days, the film passed the historic RMB 2 billion, $300 million, and thereby became the biggest release of the year. The film fell precipitously by 71.4 in its second weekend, from its $190 million debut, earning RMB 374 million, $54.3 million, for a massive 10-day total of RMB 2.19 billion, $318 million. On April 30th, it became the biggest Hollywood foreign release of all time with RMB 2.44 billion, surpassing its prequel's former record of 2.41 billion. However, in terms of U.S. currency, The Fate of the Furious, $381 million, is still behind Furious 7, $391 million. After 3 consecutive weeks of topping the charts, it slipped to 4th place after being dethroned by Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 from the top spot. It has so far grossed a total of RMB 2.648 billion, $383.9 million, and is the country's second biggest grosser ever, behind only The Mermaid. In India, the film has secured a release across approximately 1,600-1,800 screens, 1,000-1,200 screens less than its predecessor. Like other Hollywood releases, it was released in both 2K projections and normal projections, and dubbed in local languages such as Hindi, Tamil and Telugu. It is the first international film to be dubbed into the Kannada language. Despite clashing with local pick Begum John, analysts believe the two films will not affect each other's performance, as they appeal to distinct moviegoers. Universal has high hopes in the territory, after Furious 7 grossed an unprecedented $24.9 million in 2015, and became the biggest foreign release ever in the country at the time of its release, now the second biggest. It earned around 8 rupees and 50 paise crore, $1.3 million, net from Wednesday paid previews. The following day it grossed 22 rupees and 50 paise crore, $3.5 million, including previews. On its official opening day, it grossed 16 rupees and 10 paise crore, $2.5 million, for a 3-day total of 38 rupees and 60 paise crore, $6 million, earning a total of $10.7 million. It set a new record for the biggest ever foreign opening in the country, toppling its prequel's former record. As such, it is the first foreign film to open north of $10 million. Following its record-breaking opening, it fell about 58 on its second weekend excluding previews, earning another $4 million for a 2-weekend total of over $17.4 million. With over $19.2 million, it is currently the biggest foreign release of the year. However, in terms of net earnings, which is the base for box office calculations in India, the film was unable to break past the 100 rupees crore, $16 million mark, stalling at around 85 rupees and 59 paise crore, $13 million. Despite a record-breaking opening, it lost significant amount of screen counts and audiences thereafter, partly due to the release of Bahubali. The conclusion: the biggest earning markets are China, $381.8 million, followed by Brazil, $37.3 million, the UK, $35.7 million, Mexico, $35.3 million, and Germany, $30.1 million. In Peru, it has become Universal's highest-grossing film ever, with over $951 million in international receipts and representing a boffo 82 of the film's total worldwide gross. It is currently the 7th biggest overseas earner behind Avatar, Titanic, Furious 7, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Jurassic World and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Part 2 Critical response The Fate of the Furious received mixed reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 67 based on 226 reviews, with an average rating of 6.1/10. The site's critical consensus reads, "The Fate of the Furious opens a new chapter in the franchise, fueled by the same infectious cast chemistry and over-the-top action fans have come to expect." On Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating, the film has a score 56 out of 100, based on 45 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. On CinemaScore, audiences gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale. Mike Ryan of Uproxx gave the film a positive review, writing, "This isn't my favorite of the series, that's still Furious 7, it's hard to top those jumps from skyscraper to skyscraper, but this is a worthy entry. These movies know what they are. These movies know they are fun. These are fun movies." Owen Gleiberman of Variety, in his positive review of the film, wrote, "Most franchises, after 8 films, are feeling a twinge of exhaustion, but this one has achieved a level of success and perpetual kinetic creative energy that's a testament to its commercial, cultural, demographic resonance." He also wrote, "If this series, over the last 16 years, has taught us anything, it's that just when you think it's about to run out of gas, it gets outfitted with an even more elaborate fuel injection system. It's exhausting." J.R. Kinnard of Pop Matters magazine gave a lukewarm review, writing, "It's unlikely that devotees will consider The Fate of the Furious one of the stronger entries in the series. Still, the filmmakers and actors are clearly dedicated to making a quality product, avoiding the complacency that often plagues action sequels. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 2 out of 4 stars, saying, "Moments after Dom has gone rogue and apparently wants to kill them, they're making jokes. As they're racing through the streets of New York City or skidding along the ice in Russia, killing bad guys and narrowly avoiding getting killed themselves, they're crackin' wise." Even within this ludicrous universe, it's jarring to hear these supposedly smart folks, who refer to themselves as family, acting like idiots who don't seem to care if they live or die, or if their friends survive. Professor of International Political Economy Richard E. Feinberg has commented on the political significance of the film's opening setting of Havana in the context of shifting U.S.-Cuban relations, calling the 8th installment Hollywood's love letter to Havana. He writes, "In the Cuban sequence's dramatic climax, Dom wins his hard-fought 1-mile race, a Cuban mile, against a tough local competitor, by a nose. The loser is gracious. 'You won my car and you earned my respect,' he admits to the FF hero. Dom's response is equally magnanimous. 'Keep your car, your respect is good enough for me.' In this instance, FF8 captures the essence of the relations between the United States and Cuba. It's all about mutual respect. Sequel. On February 3, 2016, Universal Pictures set initial release dates for the 2 remaining films in the franchise. The first, tentatively titled Fast and Furious 9, is scheduled to be released on April 19, 2019. References external links official website, The Fate of the Furious at the Internet Movie Database, The Fate of the Furious review at Allmovie by Lexi Cummins, rating 2/5.